Hello, I am Robert L. Patterson, minister for the North Little Rock Church of Christ, located at 1708 Highway 161, North Little Rock, Arkansas. If this is your first time viewing our videos, please click subscribe. Also, we want to invite you and your family to come and worship with us at any of all of our services. Sunday morning at 9:45 a.m., Sunday evening at 5 p.m., and Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Or please visit a congregation of the Church of Christ near you. The subject for the day is Escaping the Damnation of Hell. Escaping the damnation of hell. Spiritual damnation is the act of being damned or tormented in hell with the devil and his angels forever. There's no reason for anyone to go to hell when we have a Savior who has come to the earth, planned a way for us all to escape the damnation of hell through obeying His word. People can't escape the damnation of hell by doing the will of God. If we do what God teaches us to do, we can really escape the damnation of hell. In Matthew chapter 23, verses 29 and 33, the Bible said, "Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because you build the tomb of the prophets and garnish the sepulchre of the righteous. You serpents, you generations of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell?" When these people that Christ was describing here and criticizing, telling these people who they were, today we have no Bible scribes and there are no more Pharisees in the world today. But there are plenty of hypocrites in the world. There's a lot of hypocrites in the churches of Christ that teaching things we ought not be teaching. And Christ said to those people, He called them serpents, generations of vipers. And He asked them, when they're living a life like this, how can you escape the damnation of hell? You cannot escape the damnation of hell doing the thing that the devil wants you to do. You cannot do that. In Hosea chapter 4, verses 6 and 7, the Bible said, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou should be no priest unto me. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children's." In verse 7, the Bible said, and I really like this verse a lot because it tells us a lot about having things. It said in verse 7, "And they were increased, so they sinned against me. Therefore will I change their glory into shame." The Bible teaches us that God, the more we increase, the more God bless the world to have better things and live a better life, the more they turn from God. We got so many things. At one time when people didn't have nothing in life hardly, especially poor people, all they could do was fill up these so-called church houses on Sunday mornings and Sunday evenings. They stayed full of people. They were begging God for a better life. And as soon as God gave the world a better life, look at what happened to all of those so-called Christians. God said, "I changed their glory into shame." In 1 Corinthians 10, verses 13 and 14, Paul wrote to the church at Corinth. Paul said, "There has no temptation taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it. Wherefore, my beloved," Paul said, "flee from idolatry." So Paul is teaching us that God, no matter what we're going through in life, God got a way to help us to make it through it. A lot of Christians need to hear these types of Bible verses, read them, and believe them, because see, when Christians are going through a lot of stuff sometimes, they stop serving God. When temptations strike a lot of Christians, they quit going to worship. They stop serving God. They stop giving their offerings. They stop praying like they should, because a lot of them know that God don't hear sinners' prayers, and they know that if I don't do the thing right, God is going to get me. But even though all those temptations strike a person, God says, don't worry about that, because these are things that's common to man. And what God is saying, these things happen to everybody. But then God said, "But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted above that you're able." That'll be so assuring to people to realize it doesn't matter what we're going through, God is still able to help us. But we'll, with that same temptation, the Bible said, make a way to escape. So if we're going through all kind of what some people call pure hell, it doesn't matter. Because if you just do God's will, God gonna help us to escape that damnation of hell. All we got to do is obey God and turn from those idols, because those idol things is what got us in the shape we in already. getting involved with too much debt, too many things we should not be involved with that the world have to offer. And when you look back in it sometimes, look how far away from God that we've gotten by following the lust of the devil or those idol gods. In Luke chapter 12, verses 19 through 21, we see another thing about a man crying out to God. The Bible said, I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much good later for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. When you get that concept in your heart that you're going to just do what you want to do, you're not right toward God. So we need to learn to be rich toward God and let God provide us with all the necessary things that we need in our lives. In Isaiah chapter 30, verses 8 through 11, hit me real good, because Isaiah made a lot of points that we need to understand about God's word. In verse 8, the Bible said, now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for times to come forever and ever. Verse 9, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. Now notice verse real carefully, verse 9, because the Bible said, write it down, so let it be known forever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children. How many times have you heard people say, I'm going to do better by God, and I repented of my sins, and I want God to forgive me, and they say, I'm really godly sorry, but they'll turn it back around again and get caught in those same predicaments. God called them a rebellious people, lying children. In verse 10 he said, which say to the seer, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. Get you out of the way, turn aside out of the path, call the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. And there's a lot of preachers will not teach you what's right. There are a lot of preachers, as long as you pay them, get their salary they pay, they're not going to tell you what's right, because they're working for a living as well as the people are. But God is teaching against that type stuff. In Luke 16, verse 23 and 27, and then verse 29, the Bible said, in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. The Bible said in verse 27, then he said, I pray thee, Father. This is not what he said. Now he waited to go to hell to start praying to Abraham. This man had a chance of being saved while he was alive. Now God is letting us see how that this thing is really, hell is really real. He said, Father Abraham, that thou wouldest send him to my father's house, for I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, that they come unto this place of torment. See, hell is real, y'all. Hell is real. There's going to be a lot of torment going on in hell. But in verse 29, Abraham said unto him, they have Moses and the prophets. Let them hear them. My friends, there are a lot of people that have brothers. I have a lot of brothers. I have 5. There's 5 of us brothers left out of all the children that my mother and father had. And do you think all of us is on our way to heaven? God knows I wish that was so. And I do hope that all of my brothers and all the brothers and sisters in the world will turn to God while they're living. Because once a person go to hell, it doesn't matter how much they plead, how much they beg God, they're not going to be in help for them. In 1 Peter 4, verse 18 and 19, Peter said it like this, and if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore, let them that suffer according to the will of God commit to the keeping of their soul to him in well-doing, as unto a faithful Creator. When you know God is real, and you say it that so many times, then hold on to God. It doesn't matter what's going wrong in your life. Just hold on to God and watch what God's going to do to you. Because I promise you, God can't lie. And God promises to help you to escape and make it to heaven. As I close this lesson, I want you to hear what the Bible said in Luke chapter 21 and verse 36. The Bible said, watch ye therefore and pray always, that you may be accounted worthy to escape all the things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of God. We need to understand that. There will come a time, and the Bible teaches us to watch and pray. We need to be watchful and praying to God to help us to stay faithful until that day when Christ, the Son of Man, shall come again. The Bible said, because in that, we may count ourselves worthy to escape all these things. It doesn't matter what have happened to us, like Paul said to the church at Corinth. It doesn't matter what we have gone through. The Bible said if we just pray, watch, do what God said do. And I'm not telling sinners to pray a sinner's prayer. I'm talking about those that have been washed in the blood of the Lamb that know they have a right to pray to God. Those folk have a right to pray and ask God to help them to maintain their course so that they will be able to escape all the things that the world and the devil have to send our way. Thank you for viewing our videos. And will you please help us to spread the gospel of Christ by telling your family and your friends to view our videos and subscribe? Thank you.